All right, what's going on, everybody? How is life? So, seems like somebody I know mentioned in chat that this is going to be the open source model that they've been talking about. So, and that's going to be excellent for developers. Looks like it's starting. Lava Free saying hi there from Spain. Thank you for being here. Welcome. So, I've tried Cursor. I've worked with Cursor quite a bit. I wanted to try Replit and all the other ones. I haven't worked with them as much. In terms of the models, I mean, Gemini 2.5 Pro is excellent. And I mean, so is Anthropic, both 3.5, 3.7. Um, I've tried the new models that Gemini has in the arena, like the secret models. The There's like Dragon Tail and Night Whisper or something like that. So okay, so it's starting in 1 minute. Let me make sure everything is working. Give me 1 second here. Everything is working. Give me 1 second here. It's incredibly interesting how like you don't do a live stream for a couple of weeks and you forget
Hey, I'm
everything.
Kevin, and I lead product at OpenAI.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I'm a post-training research lead here at OpenAI.
Hi, I'm Ishan, and I also work on post-training.
All right, today we're excited to announce GPT 4.1, which is a family of models in the API that were trained just for developers. And it's 3 models. So it's GPT 4.1, GPT 4.1 Mini, and for the first time, GPT 4.1 Nano, which is our smallest, fastest, and cheapest model ever. Now, these models are better than GPT-4o on just about every dimension. They even meet or beat GPT 4.5 in a bunch of key ways. And for the first time, they have long context. So all 3 models, even the Nano model, can handle up to 1 million tokens of context. We've also got some fun pricing stuff to talk about, but we'll save that for later.
And actually, the decision to name these 4.1 was intentional.
I mean, it's not just that we're bad at naming.
It's not just that.
It's also that. But these models are better across the board. They're great at coding. They're great at complex instruction following. They're fantastic for building agents. So let's dive in. Let's talk evals. Let's do demos. You want to take us away?
Yeah, let's get started with a little look at kind of the intelligence by latency curves here. And the the 4.1 series actually improves a lot from 4.0. So you can see 4.0 and Mini in here are in green. And then 4.1, we have these 3 new models that kind of move that frontier upward because they're much more intelligent. You also can see that we have Nano as a new entrant in this area, and it's much faster, but also really holds its weight on intelligence. So that's kind of the rough shape of the models. And when deciding when to use them, we recommend starting with 4.1, and it's our kind of powerhouse for these 3 dimensions, coding, instruction following, and long context. But if you need something a little faster, for maybe a slightly simpler use case, I'd recommend 4.1 Mini. And then finally, Nano is just an absolute workhorse for tons of applications like autocomplete or classification or extracting stuff from long documents. So that's kind of when you should use each model. But let's get into coding first. So developers care a lot about coding, And we've been improving our model's ability to write functional code. And so what does that mean? We've been working on making it follow diff formats better, explore repos, write unit tests, and write code that compiles. And actually, SweBench is a really great eval for evaluating this sort of performance. The model is dropped into a Python repo. It's given a task. It's got to explore, write some code, write some tests. And we see that GPT 4.1 is a significant improvement over our past models. It reaches 55% accuracy, up from 33% from our previous GPT 4.0 model. And we think this is pretty impressive for a non-reasoning model. It even beats O1 and O3 Mini. But SweBench is all Python. And we've also improved this model's ability to code in other languages. And Aider Polyglot is a great benchmark for that specifically. It's got a bunch of languages. But also what's cool is that it's got a whole and diff format. So sometimes developers want the model to rewrite the entire file, but sometimes you want it to produce diffs. And that's useful when you want a faster application. You save latency on the tokens that are not changed.
Also save money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so here you can see that we've really closed the gap on whole and diff performance. And we've also doubled GPT 4.1's diff performance from 4.0. You can also see that Mini is a really significant improvement over GPT 4.0 Mini. So we think both of these models will be a great model for any kind of coding tasks. So those are coding benchmarks. But there's also kind of the intangibles of when you're using a model. When you're creating a front end, is it functional? Is it beautiful? Does it nail the mark? And so for that, we have a little example of a flashcard app I've been making.
You're learning Hindi.
Yeah, working on it. And so I've got a prompt here. It's pretty complicated. I'm asking for this app pretty specifically. I want a nice 3D animation when you click on the flashcard. And so when I give this prompt to GPT 4.0, this is what I get. It follows some of the instructions, and some of the app is functional. But we've really trained GPT 4.1 to do better. And that model, you can see it looks way better. It's discovered colors. It can also do the 3D animation. So we think you're really going to like this improvement to front-end coding.
And this was just based on that prompt that you gave it?
Just one prompt, and you get back an entire working application. It's pretty cool. But we've also been working on instruction following. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so just like coding, we have made the model way better at instruction following. It now strictly follows all the instructions that you provided. So using all the feedback that we received, we created this internal instruction following eval, where it mimics how an API developer uses our model. So each sample in the eval contains a complex set of instructions, where each instruction belongs to one of several categories, like formatting, ranking, ordered instructions, overconfidence, and so on. And collectively, that sample is given a difficulty rating from easy, medium, and hard. And we see that this model does really well across all those axes and on difficulty levels as well. So here you can see the hard subset eval results, and this model is so much better than the previous 4.0 model.
So what's an example of a really hard set of instructions to follow?
Yeah, so let's say you're building a trip planning application, and you give it instructions like make sure you receive all the info from the user before answering them. And when you answer with the trip itinerary, make sure it's in a table format. It contains 5 rows, 3 columns. The columns are formatted in a certain way.
Yeah, I don't know about you all. I remember all the times that you learn these tricks in prompting where you're like, no, you really need to make this a table, not a list. Trust me, my boss is going to be super mad at me if you don't get this right. Yeah, so hopefully no more of that.
Yeah, and people actually were doing that just so that they could get the model to follow an instruction. None of that is needed now. The model follows all your instructions to the T, and it does really well. We also have a new prompting guide now that we'll publish on how to get the best out of our models.
Awesome.
And not just internal evals, even on external benchmarks like Scale's multi-challenge eval that tests models' instruction following capabilities on multiple turns, our model does really well. So for example, you might have an instruction 3 turns ago, and it tests whether the model remembers that instructions and continues to follow it. So it also tests models' coherence and memory. These improvements also scale well on long context data too. So you could give it large corpus of data, and the behavior that you're trying to extract from the model, it'll continue to follow that.
Nice. Yeah, speaking of large corpuses, GPT 4.1, Mini, and Nano are our first models to have 1 million of tokens in as the context. This is up from 128K for our past models, so it's an 8x improvement, which is pretty big. But it's not enough to just have the context. You want the model to be able to use it effectively. And so for that, we're showing this eval we created which is a needle in a haystack. We insert some kind of text into a large corpus, and we ask the model to find it. And we see that the model can find it across any depth, so maybe at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the document, and also across the entire full length of the context up to 1 million.
This is a very boring looking graph, but it's boring in a great way because it says every square is actually working.
Yeah, it's actually boring through so much work, which is so cool. Normally you would expect to see some of these be red, like the long context doesn't hold up to a certain area, but the fact that all of these is blue means that the model can find what you're looking for.
And this is for all 3 models?
All 3 models, even Nano. So this is not, the end-all be-all of long context. It's nice to find a detractor in a long document, but that's not exactly what all our developers are doing. So we've also created an eval called OpenAI MRCR. And this is a kind of more challenging way of determining how well the model does on long context. So you can see that GPT 4.1 in blue exceeds GPT 4.0 in green significantly, up to 128K tokens. And it holds up quite well all the way up to 1 million tokens.
This eval is actually really complex. Can you explain it a little bit more about how it works?
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. So we basically create these synthetic conversations where there's a user and an assistant talking back and forth. And the user is asking for things like, give me a poem about tapirs, and then give me a poem about frogs, and then maybe give me a short story about tapirs. And then we ask the model, find me the second short story about tapirs. And so you can find it's pretty complicated. You have to not get confused by the poems and the frogs and find the second and not the first one. So we're really excited about this improvement in performance, but you can see that there's still some work to do here. And so as part of that, we're publishing this eval on Hugging Face today, OpenAI MRCR, and we really want to spur on more work in the kind of more difficult long context processing area. Yeah, and then more on multimodal long context. So sometimes you're not just using text, but you also want to upload a video. And we found that on the video MME benchmark, GPT 4.1 reaches state-of-the-art performance, achieving 72%. So this benchmark is pretty cool. You upload like a 30 to 60-minute video without subtitles, and the model is asked multiple choice questions. So GPT 4.1 is much better at understanding this sorts of thing. All right, and then one last hit on evals, a lot of plots, I know. On multimodal processing in general, these models are a really significant improvement, but the real story is GPT 4.1 Mini. This model, you can see it really punches above its weight on multimodal reasoning and intelligence, and we think this is probably the top model to be used if you're doing any sort of multimodal or image processing.
Okay. Amazing benchmarks, but let's see some demos.
Let's do it. So here we have the OpenAI Playground, which is a really nice UI to iterate on OpenAI's APIs. I've pre-selected the latest 4.1 model. And in the system message, I've given it a light identity. The identity is it needs to produce a single Python file code application with very limited setup required. I also told it that it has access to the latest 4.1 model, which can handle up to 1 million tokens of input and 32K output. So on the right, we mimic a user query. So the user is asking to make a website that can take a large text file and answer questions about it. We give it very limited style guidance, and we tell it to use OpenAI's responses APIs to answer questions about the doc. So let's see it in action.
So you're having, as part of the demo, you're having it create a website, and then you'll use that website for the rest of the demo.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's producing like multiple hundreds of lines of code. I've rerun this query before, and I've copied the code that it spits out into this app.py file. So you can see it's a multiple 100-line file. You see that the HTML has been inlined in this file. If you keep scrolling, you would see there's an upload code, the code to ask questions. It's going to hit the responses API.
So the model did this just in one shot?
Yeah, it's doing that right now as you're seeing it. Yeah, let's produce the code. It tells you how to spin it up.
Cool.
Yeah. Should we take it for a spin?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. OK, so let's try.
Nice.
What do you think?
That looks pretty cool. It's a little BDB sassy, but I think it's working.
I do like that it advertises itself there at the bottom, powered by GPT 4.1.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Just based on the limited guidance that we gave it, it produced this website. So to test the log file that I'm about to upload. That file is NASA's server request response log file from 1995 August. Let me show you that file.
You just have this file lying around?
Yeah, you don't?
I prefer the 94.
Oh.
The 94 is a great version.
That's a good one, yeah. So in this log file, you can see the client name in the left that made the request to NASA's servers. You see the timestamp, the resource that was accessed, and the HTTP response code. This is a long file that contains a lot of log lines. And you can see on the left that this is about 450,000 tokens of content here.
Nice. So you just couldn't use this with our past models?
Yeah, this wasn't possible. So let's try uploading this file. Now what I've done is I've snuck in a line that is not actually an HTTP request response. Let's see if it can find it.
Very sneaky of you.
OK, so it's a little needle in a haystack, except in this case, you don't even tell it what the needle looks like. It's just figure out what's different and tell me.
Exactly. So it's going to sift through the whole file, do some pattern matching to see how all the log lines look like, and then try to see if there's one that does not look like the others.
Nice. And I really like this thinking spinner. So this is just the front end that we created in the demo right before this one.
Exactly. It's like a nice actively going spinner. And all the front-end improvements also are showing up here, even in this like very limited single-page Python application that we asked it to write. It doesn't have access to like other additional files that it could spit out for styling or anything like that. So
totally. Yeah, I think this front end is definitely significantly better than one I can make. So it meets my bar for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And this spinning thing is kind of neat.
Definitely taken a sec, but I think we're almost there. Any minute now.
Come on, 4.1. Live demos are awesome.
Okay.
We made it.
Okay, there is a line that it has spit out that does not look like an HTTP request line to me.
It does not.
Okay. Let's see if this line is indeed in the log file that we uploaded. I'm going to copy this keyword.
Nice.
Yeah.
There it is.
Great. So it was able to find this line that has been snuck into this deep 450,000 token log file that is like very hard to find. So it did pretty well.
Nice job, GPT 4.1.
Let's look at another demo.
Awesome.
Okay. So here we are going to riff on the previous demo that we saw, but this one is going to be more focused on how an API developer prompts our model. So I've again selected the 4.1 model here. And here the application's personality is of a log analyst assistant. We tell it how the input data will be structured. So we tell it will be within these log data tags, and how the user's query would be structured. So that would be in the query tag. And then we have a set of rules. So these are kind of the instructions that an API developer would provide to the model. So they are saying that only answer questions about the content within log data. The question should always be formatted within the query tags. If any of those things are not true, please respond with an error message. The response should be in an XML format. And I've given it some very light guidance on how the XML format should look like. So it should have some tags like result, final answer, references, and so on.
Nice. Yeah, this looks a lot like the system messages we find developers use often. You know, they're pretty meaty.
Yeah. And I've preloaded the log file here. So this is the trimmed version of the same log file we saw earlier. Cool. So I first made a request saying how many requests were made by fnal.gov, and it rejected it because it was not formatted within the query tags. Now I'm going to make the same request within query tags and see how it does. Okay, now it was able to find the two references that are within the log file. So this is the kind of interaction we see quite a bit with 4.0, where users want a certain behavior, and especially certain behavior not to happen, and the model sometimes misses on it. So as an example, I made the same query to 4.0, and it answered the question instead of saying that it needs to be wrapped in query tags.
Yeah, that's a key detail we hear a lot from developers. You really want it to follow negative instructions and do exactly as specified.
Exactly, yeah.
Super cool.
Awesome. So great results on benchmarks. That was an awesome set of live demos. I know a big amount of work has gone into just making sure that this model is really good at the kind of day-to-day tasks that developers face. And you and your team have put a ton of time into that, so maybe talk a bit about it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's not an accident that developers in the real world love using these models. To that end, we kind of went with a data sharing program last year where developers can opt in to share their traffic with us in exchange for free credits. And so when that traffic comes in, we'll scrub it for PII, remove any identifying details, and then use that to improve our models. And actually, one of the key things we do with that is creating evals. And so the evals help us tell, like, when we're creating a new model, are we on the right track? Are developers going to like this? And so the eval Sean mentioned at the top, instruction following, was directly inspired by this. And so first I want to say thank you to all of the developers who've opted in. Thanks to you opting in, we've been able to make a much better model. And then what I'll say for developers who haven't yet, if you want the models to get better for you with no work on your part, I'd recommend opting in.
Yeah, it really does help us build great models for you. Now, we said we also would come back and talk pricing. Our mission is to ensure that AGI benefits all of humanity. And one of the things that we've learned over and over is that the more cost effectively we can offer our models, the more use cases you're able to build, the more that you're able to use AI to help people all over the world. And so in particular, GPT 4.1, with all of the improvements that Michelle and Ishan have been talking about, is going to be 26% cheaper than GPT 4.0. And GPT 4.1 Nano is our smallest, fastest, cheapest model ever at just 12 cents blended per million tokens. And going beyond what any of our competitors offer, there is no pricing bump for long context. So when you use our long context models, you're just paying for your tokens the same way that you pay for a non-long context request. Now, one bit of a fun police update here. We know GPUs are at a premium. We want to make sure that we can get GPT 4.1 out as broadly as possible to all of you. And we've just been talking about how 4.1 beats even 4.5 on a lot of key benchmarks. So we're announcing that we're going to be deprecating GPT 4.5 in the API. Not today. It'll happen over the course of the next 3 months or so, but we really do need those GPUs back.
Yeah, we're really excited to get some back for research, so thank you.
Yeah, and I know we all love GPT 4.5. A lot of the improvements that we've made are going to continue on in this model and in other models, so it has been a very successful experiment. Now, we have one more surprise for you. I'm really excited to invite Varun, who's the founder and CEO of Windsurf, which is one of the premier agentic coding IDEs out in the market. Varun and his team have been early testers of GPT 4.1, and excited to hear from you directly. How's it been?
Yeah, we got access to GPT 4.1. We were super excited to sort of test it out, and we were very surprised with the performance. We have internal benchmarks that are very similar to what a SWE bench looks like that validates end-to-end software performance. And we found that it was a 60% improvement over GPT 4.0, which is a massive bump. But internal benchmarks only tell a part of the story, right? For our users, what matters more than just getting to a solution, it's actually the smoothness, the interactivity when you're vibe coding an app or modifying an app. And what we actually found was GPT 4.1 has substantially fewer cases of degenerate behavior. And maybe a couple examples here, we found that GPT 4.1 reduces kind of the number of times that it needs to read unnecessary files by 40% compared to the other leading models. And also, it modifies unnecessary files 70% less than the other leading models. To top it all off, the model is also surprisingly less verbose, right? These models sometimes tend to blabber a lot, and GPT 4.1 is 50% less verbose than the other leading models as well. For all these reasons, we've been super excited about the performance. We decided to actually go out and provide GPT 4.1 for free for all of our free and paid users for the week, and also heavily discount the product immediately afterwards.
So just to recap, in Windsurf, GPT 4.1 will be free, totally free for the next 7 days, and then going forward will be heavily discounted for a while.
That's exactly right.
Awesome.
Amazing.
I will say this weekend, my 8-year-old decided he wanted to start selling Legos. And so we opened up Windsurf, opened GPT 4.1, and we vibe coded a Lego website for his upcoming business. And it worked great. So,
Nice. You'll have to send that over.
Yeah, we'll post it with the live stream. I'm sure everybody is excited about it. But thanks so much for joining us. We're super excited to see what people build in Windsurf and beyond. So that's today. We have a family of 3 models, GPT 4.1, GPT 4.1 Mini, and GPT 4.1 Nano, that are our smartest, fastest, cheapest models that we have ever built just in the API for developers. By the way, you can also fine-tune GPT 4.1 and 4.1 Mini starting today, and Nano will be available to fine-tune in the near future. I want to say a huge thank you to Michelle, to Ishan, and to their whole teams. These models are fantastic. We're super excited to see what you all build. So that's it for today. These models are available now. They're in the API. Please start using them. We can't wait to see what you build, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you so much.
All right. So I was kind of following chat a little bit here and there, but what does everyone think? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, super exciting, 1 being meh, where does this fall on your sort of radar? Also, for people that have used Windsurf, how is Windsurf? So I've been using Cursor, but Windsurf has been on my radar. I want to try it out. So it sounds like you can get it for free for 7 days, or at least you're getting the 4.1 for free for 7 days. Okay, people are saying like 3, 4, 2. All right, so 3 and 4, negative 10. All right. Fail. Okay. Fail. So that's less than 1. Is it like 3, 2, 1, fail? 5. Okay. So kind of neutral. Neutral or just kind of meh. Yeah. So, I mean, this would have been exciting. I feel like has if not for some of the other stuff that we've been seeing. For example, I mean, Google has just been serving up incredible stuff over and over again. I mean, I've tested out the Firebase Studio. That's not like great on day 1. It's not the best thing. It's not the most usable thing. But I feel like there's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of power there. I'm excited about it as long as they keep developing, keep pouring stuff into it. Notebook LM wasn't that exciting until they added like the audio overview, and then it was incredible. Let's see what else. DeepSeek, yeah, DeepSeek they're supposed to be launching their models soon, so we might be getting the R2 or whatever they're going to call it, which is going to be extremely exciting. I'm curious to see where it kind of falls on the scale, with where OpenAI is, where Claude, Grok, and Anthropic are, or I guess in Gemini 2.5 Pro. You better bet on DeepSeek. Yeah, DeepSeek is not to be discounted. So R2, I thought they were going to launch it. I thought they were shooting it for April. And they were talking about like moving it up. So I'm not sure if they're moving it up to April or that was the original and they were trying to move it up. But I haven't heard anything new about it. Other than other than the fact that they're getting a lot of support and that there's tons of resources that are being poured into it. So, Gemini 2.5 Pro, yeah, I feel like that's been the most powerful for sure. And the fact they have incredible, the image generation and their image reasoning, how well they're able to, how it like thinks through how to create certain images. I mean, when that whole thing comes together, it's going to be pretty insane. Because I feel like it's going to be able. So I took those little sprite sheets with like video games, like dungeons and coins and whatever, and you upload in there, and you're like, hey, create a 3D scene of a isometric, Dungeons and Dragons game, and man, it does it extremely, extremely well. It doesn't even use the same exact sort of textures. It almost creates brand new ones, but it kind of sees what kind of style you're going for and just like recreates it. So you have that built in. You have an incredible coding thing built in. It seems like Google is really going hard after the, they're creating a competition to Cursor and Windsurf and Replit and all that stuff. Creating the sort of the prototypes for your apps through what's it called, Studio, Firebase Studio. Creating little prototypes and hosting it online is just brain dead simple. Anyone can do it in like a minute or two. Again, it's still clunky. It's still very, very early. It's not great, but if they polish it up, I think it's going to be incredibly good. What does everybody think about Agent Space from Google and Agent to Agent, their new sort of a framework for how to make agents connect together? The Agent Space seems very interesting because it's almost like they're recreating what Google was back in the days, the original search engine, but instead of like bringing you back sites with the information that you're looking for, you can almost like it's almost like a search for agents. So you want to do a task, you type into task, and it goes and it finds all the companies that do create agents for that specific task. Put that together, and then it just does whatever you're trying to do within that Agent Space thing. It seems pretty incredible. If they build that out in the way that I'm sort of thinking about how they're going to be doing it, oh my God, that's going to be like insane. Yes, thank you so much for everybody saying. Somebody, I apologize, I missed it, saying thank you for doing what I do. I appreciate you, all of you being here. Thank you so much. Also, let me know kind of like what do you guys want to see during this live stream, if we need to showcase anything. Manus, what is happening with Manus? Because in the beginning, I was able to get in before the wave of people got in. So, those first few days before they got hit with the massive amounts of users, it was good. It was phenomenal. And then all sorts of problems started happening. I think they just have too many users and all that stuff at some point. So I don't know where it is. Mattis, I haven't used it recently because it was like near impossible to use. But I got to come back to it at some point since they have that paid version. Maybe check out the paid version because Mattis has a great UI that says Grillo. I mean, again, in the first few days, I was impressed by the stuff that it was doing. And the things that it failed at, they seem to be like easy fixes. I was like, they really got something special here. The fact that it was running on the Ubuntu open source virtual environment, right? So it's Linux. So the agent has got its own computer. It's running its own commands in Linux. It's got the terminal. I mean, I feel like that's the future. I feel like that's what people are going to try to replicate. I got access to Manus, tried scheduling my vacation plan. It needs to improve more. I'm wondering when you used it. Because again, it was insane and then it just crashed hard. That was my impression. Like or you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, one of the founders one of the developers gave me the code. Like, what if I'm using what if I was using like a different version than what's available? You never know. Or maybe they just give you more advanced models that are being used. Is this free for 7 days? So apparently, if you want to use Windsurf, you get free access to all the 4.1 models for 7 days, if I understand correctly. Yeah, Ben Line says the countdown to AGI might have to be reset. Yeah, AGI canceled. That's it. Yeah, seeing releases like this is a little bit not scary, but it's a little bit like, what, I don't even know, are we slowing down? You know what I mean? Like, where are the huge, massive breakthroughs? I mean, Gemini 2.5 seems like a big step. What's your take on OpenAI demanding ID verification for future models? Is that a new thing? I might have not heard about that yet. It might be a like know your customer rule, like in the US. Is that what we're talking about? Like if you're using an API and or maybe they're trying to prevent people from distilling the information from the models. I haven't heard about that. Let me check it out and get back to you. I'm hoping to give you access to my version on Manus. Okay, gotcha. I'm happy we're slowing down, to be honest. I want my job for the next 3 to 5 years at least. You know what? Honestly, it wouldn't be the worst thing if, progress sort of, there was still like an open stretch of progress ahead, but just the speed slowed down a little bit. Because I think that there's tons of stuff that we just need to sort of absorb as a society, all the coding tools, all the learning, all that stuff. GenSpark was interesting. I want to try it out. GenSpark was the one where it like straight up, it was weird because it was called, they said, I'm planning a trip to San Diego. So San Diego is kind of my old stomping ground. And they called a restaurant in, what is that island? Coronado. I don't think I've been to that particular restaurant, but I've been kind of to that area. And I mean, you need reservations, all that stuff. So the agent, and it uses 11 labs voices. Okay, somebody's saying OpenAI is just slowing down because they've been the king of the hill for so long. Yeah, I almost feel like it's not just OpenAI. I feel like it's Google was the sleeping giant. They made the decision not to push AI because they were afraid it was going to tank their search ad revenue. So they're like, oh, let's chill. Let's not dubstep kid. Thank you so much. So Google was like, let's not kill our golden goose or whatever, the goose that lays golden eggs. Let's not push AI out there. So they just hung back and they produced, maybe just didn't focus on it or produced mediocre stuff for a little bit. And then recently, I think they flipped the switch. They're like, okay, we need to like really go full steam ahead. And wow, have they been just like dropping bombs? I mean, they're just, Google's getting scary. And the fact that they have their in-house chips, the TPUs, the phones, I know a lot of people, most of you are probably on Apple. Apple is a very popular, and I like Apple, I do. But somehow over the years, I just settled on the Android ecosystem for the phones, and I've just been very happy. So for me, it's like I use Windows for my main work stuff, Android phones, and then if I need the coding stuff, then I have a Linux computer that has all the Linux Ubuntu set up. At some point, I need to use Apple more, especially like the MacBook. I have one lying around somewhere. It's just, I just have a hard time getting into that whole ecosystem. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just used to different stuff. But I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so Google has just been like full steam ahead and killing it. So I feel like everyone's falling behind. I feel like Grok is behind, and OpenAI and Anthropic hasn't been releasing too much stuff. GenSparks, to finish my story, they called a restaurant in Coronado and used 11 labs to talk to the host, the maitre d', or whoever picked up the phone. And they're like, oh, we have these allergies, and can we set up a reservation for the restaurant? And it sounded, and they played the uncut clip, so it wasn't edited. And yeah, like maybe the delay was just a fraction of a second slower than you would expect a human, but man, was it was so close to being perfect. And the thing is, the person on the other line, I don't know if they suspected anything that they were talking to an AI assistant or not, but they took the reservation. So this feels like a whole new thing where you're able to just like call a million people. I mean, think about it. Like if somebody's selling something on Craigslist, right? You can have these things just sit there and calling people on Craigslist and negotiating with them and whatever. I don't know. It seems like it's going to change how we do things quite a bit, because you can have an unlimited number of people calling you. So maybe you need, maybe we need almost like a defense AI agent to play defense for us. So anyways, where were we? Yeah, so Windsurf, kind of a cool thing. This is going to be my week, I guess, to try out Windsurf, because they're doing the free 4.1. You're getting the 4.1 model free for 7 days. And it seems like it's a heavily discounted whatever stuff they provide. Interesting. So potentially, Grimlife is saying potentially moving away from Transformers to the Titans architecture. So a Neurostream is saying, what do you think of the emerging local open source agents? Can you give me a few examples? So I've installed a few that were mimicking Manus. They just like, out of the box weren't great in my opinion. But I mean, obviously more time needs to go into development. People need to contribute, stuff like that. Am I currently using Cursor? Yes. I mean, I haven't used it for days or a week or so, but I mean, I've been messing around with quite a bit. And then recently I've tried the Google Studio Base. I always forget what it's called. Firebase Studio. That thing's exciting when they build it out. Currently, it's not great. Mercury Coder by Inception Labs. Mercury Coder by... Oh, Sahil P. Thank you for that. Mercury Coder. Inception Labs. Yes, I have not tried it. I need to try it. It's one of those things where so many things happen all at once that it's just like impossible to catch up to it all. The whole idea of text-based and coding-based models that use diffusion is bizarre to me, but I need to read up more about it because I don't think I understand it fully. Because I mean, if you were talking about like large language models, like predicting the next token, that kind of makes sense, right? Diffusion models coding, I need to read what that even means, like how. I guess it's somewhat similar. Instead of like doing the next token, they sort of do the whole image. I don't know. Let me read up on it. It seems very, very interesting though. The whole thing with the diffusion models is so bizarre to me because, explained simply, they take images, like they take a bunch of images of dogs and they sort of like add the static to it. So you can, you until it's just like garbled noise, a staticky image, and they show it. Here's how that's the data for training it. And they're like, okay, now do backwards. So here's a static image, turn that into a dog. And somehow that works. Diffusion models are just like wild to me because it's like intuitively, it doesn't seem to make sense. To me at least. Is there a place for a community like a forum Discord? I've had a few here and there. I don't know what's best for that. For everybody that on here, because we got quite a lot of people on here, what is the best place for everybody to chat and do stuff like that? Is just Discord the best for that? I've tried forums. I've tried a bunch of different stuff. And I feel like I should have something. The problem with it is I have a hard time. So used to be back in the days when I would answer comments on my videos, like I would try to read through all the comments. Reddit is better. I did not think about Reddit. Less wrong. Giora says, all right, we should just all chat on less wrong. My living room. All right, everybody come on over. Grab your stuff. Bring lunch. We'll have a picnic. Reddit, Reddit is an interesting idea. Reddit is an interesting idea because it's one of those things that can grow over time. Let me think about that. Discord, too much. Yeah, Discord, I like Discord, but I feel like it gets lost among the other. Yes, that's my problem with Discord because it's just like I log in there every once in a while and it's like 50 million messages from 50 million different whatevers, and you're like, oh, I can't do it. Discord is good for quasi real-time community engagement. Yeah, there are definite like advantages to Discord that I like, but I just find myself like I bounce hard off of it because I feel like there's too much stuff going on. You get distracted by the other stuff. Man, I'm liking the idea of Reddit. I am liking the idea of Reddit. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Yahoo Groups, I mean, we're talking about the latest tech. Shouldn't it be hosted on the latest tech available? Yahoo Groups, it is. Or we can do Discord and summary bots are essential of Discord, MySpace, Facebook group. Yeah, all of that stuff. GeoCity. Oh, GeoCity's like the OG stuff for sure. Reddit is a big nope. Okay, everybody that's against Reddit, give me your top reason why Reddit is bad. Travis. So let me write that down. Yeah, I might need some mods. If it gets rolling, we need. Reddit is very censoring, but isn't that the mods and the people that are running it that are like the censoring? I mean, we're not gonna post like some insane stuff on there. I don't want that, but yeah, no, we're not gonna like. I mean, like a lot of people don't like Elon, for example. So they'll downvote or they'll ban posts from Elon. I cover Elon, of course. I mean, he's in the making grok, and he's part of the whole thing. So it's like we're not gonna cover anything that's like, we're not gonna ban anything like that, regardless of how many people like it or don't like it. We're not gonna do like the insane whatever content that just doesn't belong on there. But yeah, and the political stuff, we're not gonna have super political stuff, not unless it's really. Yeah, people are saying political, but here's the thing. Is it that just the mods, don't the mods control the subreddits? That's my point, right? So in other words, if we have mods that are just like more permissive and allow, so somebody's saying Reddit will ban it for you. Okay, I need to look at that. Yeah. Yeah, Dubstep Kid. I'm not sure what you're saying. Yeah, I do want to communicate to everybody, and I do want to have more like not one-on-one stuff, but you know what I mean. Like stuff like this is really awesome. Yeah, where everybody can talk, and I just pop in every once in a while. That's what I want. Like I want a self-sustained thing. It's just like this nightclub that's going on at the peak of the party. You know what I mean? Everybody's in there doing their own thing, like it's just going off the rails, and I'm able to pop in and engage with the stuff that I needed. Okay, cool. Yeah, Discord, or sorry, Reddit. I like Reddit. Number one, it shows up a lot in Google search. Number two, for posting videos and stuff like that, it's really good. I did. So somebody said vibe code your own. So I use an open source thing to set up a forum. Open source technology, I forget what it's called. It's one of the big forum building tools. That was good. But the problem is with the free stuff, with the free communities, you get overrun with spam. With the paid communities, you're blocking, there's a lot of people that are not going to pay for it. And I totally get it. Like, I don't want to have another monthly fee. You know what I mean? So it's like, even for Medium has some good articles here and there. It's $5 a month for whatever it is. Why not all of them? That's the thing, is whenever you start one, people are like, oh, also do this, also do this. And then like it just like sort of like spread. You need to get everybody in one thing and like snowball it. Do you know what I mean? Any random group can be woke or conservative. I want it to be not either, you know what I mean? And just like be about AI, and they're like having a difference of opinion is fine as long as everybody's just not like battling it out every single time. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you could have good mods to keep politics off the discussion unless it's directly related to the models or subject, yes, if that's possible to create, that would be incredible. So it seems like, yeah, so Thomas Moore is saying Discord and Reddit. So that might be a good sort of mix of the two. School was interesting. School was interesting, but I feel like, yeah, it's one of those things where they have a certain sort of niche that they're shooting for, and they do very well for that, but it's not yeah. So I think somebody was part of the school thing. Yeah, there's just weird things, and you have to keep up on it. Like I want there to be stuff. I want it to be like self-sustaining to where I can come in and hang out and do stuff. So yeah, maybe having mods is the way to go. Subreddit Wes Roth AI news. Yeah, shocking studying AI news. There we go. One downside to Discord, it's resource heavy, so people shut it down. Discord makes, yeah, I feel like between Reddit and Discord, it's either one or the other or both. It's somewhere in there. But I do like the idea of Reddit. I like that idea. I just need to think through it and stuff and figure out what works, what doesn't. Has anybody been following the vibe coding thing? The game jam vibe by Peter Levels. So he posted, I guess Andre Carpathy made it out over there, wherever they are in Europe, it sounds like. So they all hang out. I need to stream. Mr. McGee is saying, "Don't bother to stream." Yeah, so I do want to stream more. I do want to stream more. It's one of those things where it seems like it's hard to get into it and start, but when I'm doing it, it's like amazing. I really enjoy it, and I want to do more of it. So Travis, so you're saying use my name in there. If I didn't want to, well, if I wanted to be more like open to everybody, it's not just about me. I wonder if that would be better. That's something to think about. So, because the best ones, the top ones on there are like Singularity, and I forget what the other ones are. But there's like some of the biggest subreddits I feel like were in the AI space. Voting bot in Discord so you can scroll through the useful information. Okay, through school. Dannon Man's Gump Ride. Is that your Dannon Man's? Is that your thing in school? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so if I need mods, I'm gonna post it in my. Here's the thing. If I need mods, which I probably will if we end up going this route, I will post it in my YouTube, the community, the posts that come up where I do my polls, if you see my polls or not. And we're discussing if we should do like a community thing where we can all chat and do that stuff. So my whole thing is, in the past when I've done it, if it requires me to always pay attention and be on top of stuff, it will just fail because I tend to like get distracted. So you've noticed maybe like a week or two ago, I wasn't posting as much. That's largely because That game came out, Schedule One. I don't know if anybody has seen it. There's this game, Schedule One. It's, if you think like Breaking Bad, but they make it kind of like a little bit more cartoonish and like South Park a little bit. And wow, I got hooked, and I was just like, I just could not. I just needed to build that empire a little bit more. So I think I dumped like, yeah, I got super addicted. I think I dumped like 30 or 40 hours into it. Stayed up too many nights. Finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, like I hit a certain level where I was like, okay, I feel I did enough. So I was able to back away a little bit, get back to posting. But you know, I think that for me, it's one of those things. I don't know if it's the ADHD or what, but it's like either under Danny, okay. It's one of those things where it's like I'm either like 100% on one thing or 100% on another thing, and so with every once in a while, I feel like if you go too hard, too long, you kind of burn out. So every once in a while, I just need to take like a break and just like completely clear my mind. So anything where it needs my daily attention, those things will like consistently, that stuff will break down. So if that makes sense, like so that's with some of the stuff I've started, and I was super present and super involved and super like in it, just like 24 hours, like on my phone responding. And then you need like a few break, like the hyper focus ends and you need a break. And that's when stuff just like goes off the rails. So I'm living in burnout right now. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. How many people have been talking about it? Dave Shapiro has been talking about it. Who's that gal that talks about? So she's working with Dave Shapiro, and she's talking about AI. Julia McCoy. Yeah, so she's been talking about the same thing because she's been traveling and speaking on stages and doing stuff like that. So Solve Smart saying respect on self-awareness on ADHD. Discuss this for younger viewers. Most will relate. Yeah, I'm still learning a lot about it. So I am still learning how to like, because it can be a superpower, but it's also kind of a curse. You know, so it's like one of those things where it's a hard subject because it's like, yeah, how do you balance life? Because I mean, for me, I always felt like whenever I try to be like a normal person and like handle all of my things relatively well, like it just does not work. Like but at the same time, like when I hyper focus on stuff, like it will have sometimes extraordinary results. So it's like one of those things where like, well, you know, how do you measure yourself? Because it seems like this, I think it's referred to sometimes as like the barbell strategy. So for like in investing, I think Tim Ferriss talks about barbell strategy. So he invests in hyper risky startups and also like the super conservative, like, you know, CDs or something like that, so he calls it the barbell strategy. So I feel like this is the same thing with like ADHD. Probably not a good analogy, but it's either you're like super on it or just everything falls apart. And the guy that created CD Baby, whatever his name is, I'm blanking on his name, but kind of a smart guy. Or, you know, he's got some interesting ideas about how to be successful, but also like enjoy life and stuff like that. Blanking on his name, but he was saying how you should be is either it's a hell yes or it's a no. And I feel like that's what works for me. Like either it's a hell yes and I can devote all of my time and energy and brain power to it, or it's a no. And my biggest mistakes in life were where it wasn't a hell yes and I was like, oh, but to be, you know, a responsible adult, I should do this or whatever, and this just always failed. Liron Shapiro from Doom Debates, he's been hosting, if I'm thinking of the right person, yeah, so he's been hosting some great people on there. And so that's been very interesting. Julia, yes, thank you. Julia McCoy, yeah, I think is her name. David Sivers, yes, I think it's Derek Sivers. Yep. Sivers. I think it's Derek Sivers, but yep, thank you. That triggered it. Where was I? My mind went blank. Doomers, yeah. So with Doomers, like I don't know, it's very interesting. Dave Shapiro posted a great thing because he was a little bit more not in that camp necessarily, but I guess he shared some more sort of like an overlap with the quote unquote AI doomers. And what he noticed is more and more, it seems like they became one of those things where you have to agree with everybody in that collective, and any sort of diverging view kind of gets punished. And that's a little bit, so to me, I don't like that when people try to get too like involved. Like I want to be able to see across the spectrum of opinions, and I want to be able to, like we did that whole thing by Daniel Cocotayo or Cocotajo, I'm not sure. Everybody says his name's different. Shapiro did a pump fake to prove a point. Yeah, the black hole singularity stuff. No, I don't know why they called it that. I'm not sure why they called the live stream that. That was OpenAI language, so I put it in my title. I'm not. Does anybody know why they called it that? I don't really see it. I don't really get it. But yeah. So my point is, I enjoy listening to people, especially like what's his name, the less wrong guy, the main one. Names are just not coming to me today. I don't know what it is. Like the Eliezer Yudkowsky. I like listening to him. I think he's a very smart person. I think he's able to explain everything very well. You know, not necessarily agree with everything that he says, but certainly, you know, if I wanted to present the Steelman version of that argument, he would be the person that I would point to as the person that is able to explain it the best. Yes, Eliezer Yudkowsky. So he was on the Patel podcast. I am blanking on every single name today. So he was on Lex Friedman and the big podcaster in the AI space, Patel. D. Patel. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My brain refuses to remember names today. I don't know what's happening. Anyways, wow, this is concerning. Dwarkesh Patel. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dwarkesh Patel. I don't know how names are just not coming to me. So yeah, so for anybody that hasn't seen Eliezer talk about kind of his opinions, he's probably like the main quote unquote AI doomer, right? He's kind of like the person that maybe in a lot of ways started the movement, led the movement. And Dorkish Patella, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's right. And let's see. And so, yeah, so those two podcasts, I think, really showcase his opinions very well. And the Dwarkesh Patel, that's the one where he started like, you're unaligned. You're unaligned. I thought that was funny. But he explains it extremely well. And we looked at the Daniel Cocotayo, his How AI Takes Over in 2027. That was a fascinating read. That thing was huge because it's like a lot of pages. And then you get to the bottom, you select, do you go the negative ending or like the positive ending? Do you stop it or not? Connor Leahy, I don't enjoy listening to his arguments, especially when he's talking to other people, because I think he tends to be like kind of like rude and he kind of snipes people, and I don't enjoy that. He was talking to, I don't know why I bring up people's names because I'm Joshua. Wow. My brain is refusing to come up with names. But yeah, there's a few podcasts that Connor Leahy was in, where I feel like his are just more like attacks and they're more like emotional emotional arguments a little bit more. I prefer Joshua Bach. Bach, I think is. Thank you for that. I'm so sorry. I guess I have to type in the names that I'm forgetting. Thank you so much. Yeah, like with Joshua Bach, I respect him so much, and he's such a great thinker. And I feel like with when he was doing his conversation with Connor Leahy, like, I don't know, there's just not like from Leahy, not a sense of like respect. I understand that he's very passionate about what he's talking about, but I don't know if it's like necessary to put people down and stuff like that. It just doesn't feel good. And I feel like it just one of those things where it just like polarizes people. Yeah, I do have bags. I don't know. I guess I didn't sleep well last night. I bought Andre Karpathy was talking about how he was convinced by Brian Johnson to start tracking his sleep and getting better sleep. And so he tested like 5 different sleep trackers, and one of them was Whoop. And so based on that, I decided to try it out. So I have Whoop, and you might have noticed that in the last couple videos I had it on my hand if my hands were in the shot. So I actually took it off. It's somewhere here. But yeah, I've been tracking my sleep. I'm tracking my workouts and trying to hit, whatever, 10,000 steps a day. So it's one of those things that have worked really well. But yeah, I feel like with sleep, it's one of those things where it's like, if you stressed out that day or like you didn't get enough, like if you didn't have a good day where you were able to do some like deep rest, some relaxation, then the sleep might be destroyed. Okay, so with vitamin D3, so I got tested a few months ago and I was deficient. I was at the lower end and I was like, man, this is probably affecting stuff. It's probably affecting whatever, sleep and all sorts of stuff, because D3 is like crucial. Most people are deficient. I started taking the supplements. It didn't seem to move the needle. So I actually tried doing injections at a local place. They can do vitamin D injections, and that seemed to work really, really well. Not sure why we went down that path, but anyways, there it is. Let's see, what else? What else do we want to talk about? So the thing is, I was expecting, or somebody before the live stream started, somebody in the comments said that they might be talking about their new open source model. So it looks like OpenAI's open source model. So it looks like they were talking about it. Yeah, it's I guess it's technically a hormone, right? Vitamin D. Try sun. So I have been trying to get more sun. I used to walk every single day just because I think it was so useful, and just being in nature is very important. It's we talked about Schedule 1 on the OpenAI stream if people are interested. Are we a vitamin podcast or vitamin podcast or AI? Well, so far video games, vitamins. We talk a lot about some random stuff on this podcast. Try sun. Yes, sun is good. We all probably need more sun. It was funny, somebody posted on X, they were saying they made these like super niche references to a bunch of AI stuff. And it was like this whole thing. And they're like, if you understood all of these references, number 1, you're probably vitamin D deficient. Number 2, go eat some salmon. And I was like, yeah, I need to go eat something that has vitamin D or get some sun and stuff like that. One of our first, so for Kenny W, my first live stream was a video gaming stream when salmon. Yes, is that not how you say it? Do you say salmon? Actually, now I think about it, let me show you guys something. This is a podcast. Red light therapy okay, Steve, thank you so much for hanging out. What is a professional surprise, man? What does that mean? But okay, yeah. Thank you for being here. Touch grass, as they say. Yeah, I gotta start doing that. I gotta start going barefoot and one second here. Yeah, for people that have tried, the touch grass or whatever you want to call it, it's basically, the idea of taking off your shoes, taking off your socks, and actually going, grounding yourself or whatever. From people that have tried it, does that work? Do you notice something? Do you notice do you notice an effect? Have I tried meditation? Yeah. So I've been trying to do a lot of meditation recently. I've tried, a lot of people have recommended The Way, which is, I guess, some Zen master. I really enjoyed Sam Harris's app. Actually, I mean, I have both of those on my phone. And whatever it's called, Waking Up. So Waking Up has been really good for me. I enjoyed his daily meditations, and he's got like these lessons. The spiders will eat your toes. Don't say that. I was just about to try it. I think you just turned me off for life to ever doing that. How do we feel about achieving longevity, escape velocity? I think that so like I'm hoping that if you're in your like 30s and 40s, there's a high chance. If you're in later, I mean it's hard to say. I'm keeping my eye on Demis Hassabis. So he launched his company that I think is underneath the Google umbrella. Please post in the chat if you remember what it's called. So the one that's kind of based on AlphaFold and drug discovery. And so they've created their medicine company, and I think it's under the umbrella of Google/Alphabet. And I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that because I mean I don't know too much about this, but I mean you look at things like CRISPR that are able to edit our genes. So that's like genomics, gene editing, right? And then with AlphaFold and stuff like that, you have proteomics, right? The idea that we're able to study, and now they're beginning to design custom-made proteins. So like designer proteins. Now, proteins is like everything between genetic, I mean, proteins is everything that life is, and genetics, genomics is like the coding of that. But for proteins alone, like it's everything that life does is in the proteins. Proteins is what life is, like every function of life is proteins. How could it seems like there's no limit to what we could achieve if we're able to figure out how to code proteins, right? I mean, as far as I understand it, it seems like immortality could be very, very feasible if we get an advanced enough understanding of how to manipulate proteins. No, it's not yellow. My favorite color is not yellow, interestingly enough. Is it because of the eyeball behind me? Isomorphic Labs. Thank you, Uwe Pleben. Isomorphic Labs. I do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yep. Let me do this. Sorry, did it? Sorry, I just went silent on you guys. I apologize. I forgot to turn on my mic here. Okay, how's everything now? Number one, can you see me? Can you see chat? And you should be able to see this window as well. Hopefully. Muted, muted, muted. Wait, you should be able to. Okay, back now. Hang on, let me just double check here. Can you see chat? Okay, there we go. Okay, it's working. Sorry about that. I haven't live streamed for a few weeks, and I forgot everything about how to do it, which is exciting. So one cool thing about this is the new version of Midjourney, so V7, and it's looking pretty cool. For people that use image generation models, wow, so Legacy saying, wow, less wrong. The lifetime extension, AlphaFold, Harris, Neo Robot, these are things I love. But nobody in my life knows what any of it is. I think I might stick to this community. Welcome. I think you found your home. Yeah, this is one of those things where I've been noticed. It's weird because like we started talking about AI, and in these live chats, people that come in and like will casually throw something in chat. I'm like, I am also obsessed with that. Yeah, like supplements. We've talked about gut health. We've talked about what are those things called, like magic mushrooms and stuff like that. We've talked about meditation. We've talked about just all sorts of stuff that is, consciousness. Just whether we live in a simulation, like just there's this group of people that I think the interests overlap over this like weird, interesting set of interests. And I don't even know what to call it, but it's just like I think most of the people on the live streams and hanging out are those people. So it's absolutely incredible to be part of this community. So I've lived in California most of my life, San Diego. I started in Irvine, grew up in Irvine, moved around quite a bit, lived in Texas for a little bit. But now I think I will have a new home in a different state that I'm not yet ready to talk about. But California's been great, but it's, there's issues with, I feel like there's issues with, not with even with the government, but there's just tons of stuff that makes it like harder and harder to live there. I love California, but it's been I'm just running into more and more issues. So not in Austin. I lived near Dallas for a bit. I lived in a little town called wow. It was outside of Dallas. Why am I blanking on the name? I'm forgetting. But anyway, so basically there was this startup there, and they had skincare and supplements, and this was the year, I want to say 2014. And one of the people that I found online that was doing that was teaching how to do like online marketing, stuff like that, because that was my thing, e-commerce and online marketing and stuff like that. He said that there's a job opening up because he invested in this company, and I reached out and I did the interview. I flew over there. I talked to them. Completely tanked that interview because I got so nervous, because this was a person that sort of like I knew online, I looked up to, and then like, I walk into the interview, it's like him and three other people, and it was a little bit weird. It's like, I followed you for a long time. You're kind of like a mini celebrity in the space. But anyways, so I worked for this company. They started growing really fast because this was when Facebook ads were really picking up steam, and so like they caught the exact right time to start an e-commerce sort of business because it was very easy and cheap to acquire customers. And I was doing some marketing for them, doing emails and stuff like that. And they had the director of marketing who was just like this incredible, like master of everything. He knew so many things about how to do stuff right. And he was managing something like $1 million a month in ad spend across the various systems. And I was learning from him. And a few weeks in, like 3 weeks in, him and one of the founders get into a massive fight. I don't even know about what, but and so the marketing director just walks out. He just leaves. He's just, screw you guys, I'm going home, type of thing. And they turned to me, and this was a small company. There was like 4 employees, and they were on track to hit like 30 million in sales. And they turned to me, and they're like, can you take over for him? And the thing is, like, I didn't have the background. I was just learning from him for a few weeks, so I kind of knew my stuff, but nowhere near that level. But I just said, yeah, for sure, let me do it. And I was trying to run the marketing basically on my own. So in like, a few weeks of doing it, I learned more than I could have in like years before doing like paid ads and stuff like that, and e-commerce. And yeah, so that's how I got into, that was my start in e-commerce. That's why I was living in Texas for a little bit. But what I wanted to show you is this. So this is Midjourney V7, and one of the interesting things that they've added is, what do they call it? They call it draft mode. Or did they changed what they're calling it? They changed it to conversation mode. Okay. Create a large golden dragon flying over San Diego. So here we're able to create with our voice these various images. And if you haven't used Midjourney, basically whenever you put in a prompt, they give you 4 outputs, and the outputs are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so, for example, you can refine it. So let's say we really liked, and later once you pick the one that you want, you can upscale it. So if you see weirdness like this wing is disconnected, this will likely get taken care of when we upscale it. So 1, 2, 3, I like 3. So we're going to say, create strong variations on number 3. And so it takes that control, and it goes ahead and creates strong variations from this number, version 3. So it takes that sort of thing, that style, that sort of seed or whatever you want to call it, and it creates strong variations on that sort of theme. Yeah, so we watched the 4.1 stream. I mean, it looks good. I'm going to be testing out later. It doesn't seem to be like a massive leap forward. It seems like a good, strong move forward. They updated the context window to 1 million. Have you seen the AI-assisted neural device that was developed for locked-in syndrome, allowing them to speak? Next is prompting with your mind. I saw that. My first reaction, because everybody was super excited about the ability to help people. Me, I'm like, okay, so like we can read people's minds now. We can read their thoughts. And man, I'm a little bit concerned about that, because I mean, if you think about like the potential of some 1984 like scenario with the like Orwellian surveillance, like a totalitarian regime or something like that. Now on top of that, like they can read your thoughts. It seems weird. I guess it would be good for like, well, let me ask you this. Everybody that's in here, let's say they develop a model that can read people's thoughts. And again, we're seeing that being potentially realistic, because we've seen songs being able to be replicated just by scanning a person's mind. Whatever their song they're thinking about gets displayed, images, stuff like that. So it seems like we're able to, quote unquote, read people's minds. Yeah, Minority Report. So let me ask everybody here, like, would you be okay with something like that? Yes, so people are saying must be opt-in. Would you be okay with that being applied to law enforcement? I mean, it would probably get all of the, let's say, violent criminals off the streets, because you just like, oh, did you do this horrible thing? Scan their brain. You did? Okay, right this way. I guess a good thing, right? But at the same time, wow, that seems scary for a lot of reasons. Government overreach. So no, people are saying no, bad idea. Tinfoil hats weren't all that useless. That's good. Yeah, that's. I should start an e-commerce business selling tinfoil paper hats. Definitely no on thought police. Yep. Yeah. So that's the thing where, yeah. Yeah, it is incredibly scary. And this is one of the things that I'm most concerned about, because, and that's kind of where one of my sort of arguments with the AI doomers is I think they present the rogue AI scenario as sort of like the number one threat. And not that they downplay other threats, they just don't really talk about them. But to me, I mean, we have to also take into account the sort of tyrannical rule, scenario, right? Because rogue AI, yes, that's possible, right? Also, what's possible, and this is not even science fiction, we have tons of evidence throughout history of people abusing power to do horrible stuff. Imagine somebody like that, having an ASI, some sort of a super intelligent AI that's able to control people, read thoughts, do all sorts of stuff. That sounds incredibly, incredibly scary. Especially if you consider the fact that, I mean, the whole idea of the Rocco's basilisk, for people that may be familiar with that. So the idea is kind of a weird story almost, where it's a thought experiment, basically, that eventually in the future, a super intelligent AI might sort of reward everyone that helped it sort of get brought into the world, and basically create a sort of a hell for anybody that opposed it. Including, I think, I mean, he was talking about like torture, and keeping people alive indefinitely and stuff like that. Some pretty like horrendous stuff. But yeah, the idea of some sort of a tyrannical rule with super intelligent AI, if it falls into the wrong hands, that is like my nightmare scenario. And the fact that we potentially could be reading people's thoughts, that just makes it that much more scary, I think. Let me do another prompt here. Let's see. Let me get some ideas. So this is their sort of flow of images. So these are the top images of the day. And I got to say, it's insane how realistic it's getting for whatever sort of style that you want. So this is some sort of a like a Polaroid, or like an old old image, photo image. I mean, this looks great. This is very cool. It used to be kind of bad if you wanted to have floating sea animals over the city. I've tried this before. It would be hit and miss. Here it seems like pretty good. Let's try this one actually. Create a massive whale shark floating over a city and the stars. It's a night starry sky. Hey, that's not bad. Sahil P, thank you so much. Bye. See you next time. Every prisoner is innocent. Yeah, that's the thing, is that, you know, the thought reading technology would have some benefits, obviously, but man, you know, but the people that are saying it should be opt-in, that, you know what? That would actually be interesting. Like if it had to be opt-in only. Then, you know, if you are wrongfully accused, you can have the option of getting that done. This is Midjourney. Midjourney is one of my favorite AI image generation tools for my specific purpose, which is I just like insane, like artistic, mind-blowing images. So that's where I use it for. So this is their newest, latest version 7. Yeah, Midjourney V7. And so, for example, here they got this mode where you can just talk to it. So, for example, I like, these are all good, but let's say I like number 2. So I'm going to say strong variations on number 2. And then it's going to go ahead and create it. This is very cool because you're able to just like speak to it. And justice for Zahir, there's no way he wasn't killed. So for people that don't know, there's a person that used to work for OpenAI, was a whistleblower, released some information, was found dead in his apartment. The San Francisco police ruled it a suicide. I think his mother was on a couple podcasts, I think, talking about it, saying that everything's very strange, very suspicious. So from what I hear, I mean, from like the San Francisco police might be kind of bad at investigating crimes and stuff like that. So I would not be surprised if they didn't do a thorough investigation. I'll do, you're saying, is that about Tahir that you're talking about? Yeah, sounds fishy. I don't know. I have a hard time. I don't know, but I mean, I have a hard time assuming that it was some sort of a hit taken out on him by in some AI frontier lab. I guess it's within the realms of possibility, but also, I mean, there's tons of them. There was the people that leaked information, that put stuff out there. Why was he targeted in particular? Yeah. Oh, so the mother was not fully up to speed on the kid's life. Yeah, so when did this happen? I want to say, like, I don't know, like 8 months ago. It's been some time, I feel like. Debugger, I don't think you're shadow banned. We can see you. Or maybe some other messages got disappeared. I don't have anything that like deletes messages or anything like that. So it might be YouTube though, but nothing on my side. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, the San Francisco Police Department, I would trust them less. Like, is it possible that it seems like they let a lot of crime happen without any sort of, I don't know. It seems they just like let a lot of things slip through their fingers. So if they called something wrong, I would not be surprised. These AI labs taking out hits on people, I would like to see some more, I guess, evidence of that. Again, I mean, it could happen, but man, that would be wild. So I gotta say, this is like really cool. All right, so let's say we like version number 1. So I'm gonna say upscale version 1. Just hope that they don't try to implement social credit. Yeah, with his building is heavily cammed and there are key cards, etc. There's no evidence. Did you see the Neo robot TED Talk earlier today? I saw the clips of that robot like vacuuming that stage set as the founder is talking about it. I haven't seen it. I do want to see it. Jeremy Karen says, anybody got a TLDL over the last 90 minutes? It was just a ADHD stream of consciousness, a million different subjects, and no coherent link between any of them. Really, that's, I think, a good sort of summary. I saw the interview on TED with Chris, the interviewer. I forget his last name. And then there was Sam Altman. And man, that was hard to watch. I couldn't even post it on YouTube because apparently TED Talks, they do such a strong job of filtering out. Like if you wanted to post anything, a clip from them, it's not allowed. It immediately gets tagged as a copyright violation in YouTube. Man, I'm kind of liking this. This whale shark floating through the city is pretty cool, I gotta say. A massive great white shark swimming through the asphalt in a major metropolitan city. So Grillo saying China will hit AGI first. One thing that I didn't expect at all is always the sort of the narrative. The idea was that, there's going to be this race and, China's going to try to steal the AGI or AI technology from the US labs. I think pretty much everybody sort of either assumed that or assumed there was something like that where both US and China will kind of try to develop their own thing. There's going to be espionage, whatever. I don't think a single person expected what's happening now, basically. And that's China is open sourcing a lot and everything. That guy Balaji, who posts on Twitter, he kind of wrote up a little thing about it, saying that he expects a wave of these things. I mean, if you look at, Manus has, they say they're going to open source a lot of it, so we'll see. DeepSeek, obviously. I think that Unitree is open sourcing a lot of their developer stuff. Yeah, so they open source all their software, so we rely on their hardware because they have a massive advantage in producing hardware. So if they're able to just push so much of their stuff out in terms of the software slash AI, if they can make it just cheap, free globally, that really takes the wind out of the sails of a lot of these big tech companies and OpenAI and stuff like that. And we should do a Sharknado for sure. And I mean, definitely, yeah. So China is the nation of builders, US is the nation of creators. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Because I mean, and this is what Balaji was saying in his tweet. So China has sort of a way that they've outcompeted some of the US manufacturing firms, is that they start doing it over there. They copy some of the designs. They just make it efficient, better. They replicate incredibly well. They use scale, industry of scale. Yeah, they use that to economies of scale. That's what it is. They just produce a ton of stuff, so they're able to undercut the competition and produce more stuff. And very oftentimes, if you're in the US, you're trying to compete. It's very difficult if you're producing real stuff, trying to manufacture stuff. So yeah, so certainly it's an interesting approach. Like, yeah, if you just open source all the software, you make it free, you make it cheap, then yeah, you're basically, yeah, hardware wars. That's a good way of saying that. Selfie mirror.jpg in Flux. That's interesting. I should try that out. Has Flux had any recent updates? And Grok uses Flux for their image generation, right? That hasn't changed. Have I tried the extended memory feature? Yeah, I mean, I messed around with it. I asked it questions that, but no, I haven't done anything that's where it's like specifically trying to find something that we spoke about a while back. I haven't tested it like that yet, but that's an interesting point. It changed. Grok no longer uses Flux. Interesting. Let's see. Sharknado. What about whale sharks? Yeah, so whale sharks are not whales. They are sharks. They're massive sharks. So they're fish. They're massive. They're not dangerous. And yeah, they're kind of crazy. Just very, very interesting. Very interesting animals. Upper right looks cool. Yeah, so that's version 2. I like 1, 2, and 3 actually. So let's do this. Strong variations on 1, 2, and 3. All right, I didn't know if that was going to work, but yeah, it's generating all 3 of them. So 4.1 came out, you're playing with Midjourney. Well, so yeah, so I guess with the 4.1, we can try it in Playground and the API. Oh, okay, did I miss that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, interesting point. Yes. Okay, yeah, sorry, I missed, I guess there was a conversation about yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Sorry, what is it called? The Ring app is going on. Not the Ring. Yeah, the Ring, where somebody rings your doorbell. I love it. I hate when people ring my bell back in the days. You didn't know who it was. You open the door, it's some salesperson. And they're like, they never tell you they're selling. They're like, oh, we're not selling anything. Yeah, yes, you're going to try to sell me on something. Don't tell me you're not selling it. Selling something. And now I installed the Ring thing, well, a couple of years ago, actually. And oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I can just look at them and like, nope, like I don't have to talk to you. I'm just going to stay inside and you can't do anything. I don't, they have their little clipboard so you know they're selling something. Like, nope. I love it. All right, so this was one of the variations. So yeah, talking about whale sharks versus whales and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. So where whales being mammals, the tail goes sort of up and down. So I guess the tail is horizontal, you would say, right? With sharks, it's, what I mean by up and down, it moves up and down, but it's positioned horizontally, whereas with sharks, it's vertical, and they swim. Like how the vertebrate moves is different, because whales kind of go like this, whereas sharks and fish kind of go like this. Right? Am I getting that correctly? Let me know if I'm getting it backwards. But with whale sharks, they're sharks. So this is the correct way of drawing them, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, for people that haven't seen these things, they are absolutely insane. Not the human lady. I'm talking about the whale. Okay, like if you haven't seen it, once you realize the sort of the scale of this thing, this is there's somebody doing it. So I guess this was a GoPro award. She's swimming with a whale shark. So it looks like, yeah, so you see it looks like it just like swallowed her up. The reality is I don't think they can really hurt you. Yeah, I asked for a whale shark, not a whale. I don't know. They seem like just really cool animals to me. Their back looks like stars, kind of, which is I always kind of find very interesting. Very like artistic or whatever. My like, yeah, and this is not even like a big one. They're filter feeders. Yeah, so I don't think you can like even get hurt even if you like bump into their, like they can't bite you or whatever. Like I think it would be very difficult to get hurt by it somehow. Yeah, look at that. Anyways, I don't know how we got onto this, but I was going somewhere with this. Yeah, they don't have teeth. They have like bristles almost, right? Oh yeah, my fear is like if I haven't really been scuba diving, but my fear is like if you're underwater and one of these things like sneaks up on you, quote unquote, you turn around. The first time I tried virtual reality, the Vive Pro or whatever HTC, a friend had it over at the house, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta try it." So I've never really tried anything that realistic before, that VR. So I'm sitting there, and it's this underwater scene, and you're looking down. There's like you're underwater, standing on a reef or some sort of rock formation. It's beautiful. Like there's sunlight streaming down from above. There's little like crabs, running around, and then you turn around and there's a blue whale like swimming past you. I almost had a heart attack. That was the scariest freaking, I think, experience of my life. I think I have that fear. What do they call it? They were like the huge objects underwater. Yeah, whatever that's called. I'm pretty sure I have that because like that did not feel good. Anyways, I think I'm gonna sign off. Yeah, I thought I may have ADHD, but after watching Wes, I realized I don't have it at all. Yeah, it's all a matter of severity. That's a good one. This one's kind of cool. Let's see. That one was number 3. Upscale version 3. Yes. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna be signing off. Selfie. Yeah, I was gonna try. Wow, can't type. So are you saying do that in Flux or it rewrites it? It naturally rewrites it. Oh, I guess I can maybe turn that off. Yeah, Travis, let me think about it. I really like that idea though. I really do. And I wrote down your username. Meatrition. Meatrition. Okay. But I'll post it on my YouTube, the community feed if we do it. Let me see. Is it rewriting my? Yeah, it's rewriting it. There we go. Yes, let me do. Thank you, Wrist120. Before you sign off, what was important? So, what was important? I guess it's a good idea for us to do a little overview for what was important. So they released the 4.1 family of models. We have the regular, the mini, and the nano. They do have a million context window. And it's not open source. It looks pretty good. They're going to do away with the 4.5 model in the API. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, really, we have to test it to see how good it is. Yeah, am I missing anything? I mean, that's pretty much it, I feel like. I mean, it's good. It's good. It's just kind of like an incremental improvements. I mean, I'm excited about the 1 million text window. Again, I'm going to jump on and test it out. If it's incredible, then it's incredible. You know, we're not going to once I have a chance to test it out, we'll know for sure. It seemed like an incremental improvement. But yeah, so this might not be this massive deal. I think that's the main thing that we've talked about. The rest was just kind of random stuff. The other thing that we're talking about is potentially creating a Reddit. So it looks like Travis created the Wes Roth AI News. Let me think about the title a little bit, because I think that we can do something kind of special here in that, because there's people that like me. I hope all of you enjoy my stuff. There's some people that don't like me. They hate me for some reason, which is totally fine. I think if we can do a more broad naming convention of some sort, I think that might be better. Because if we push enough people in there, it takes a life of its own, right? So if it's just my name and just our core group, that's cool, that's awesome. But that might be more of a Discord thing. With Reddit, the really cool potential for Reddit is it can snowball and become maybe one of the bigger, subreddits on there. That's really what I think would be interesting. But we'll keep it for now. Keep the name for now. Let's see. Again, it's a great idea. Let me process it a little bit. If we need to do another one, what we're going to do is we're going to announce it in that Reddit. We'll move everybody over. Let me think about how to do this properly, and do some research. But I like the idea. I really like the idea. Anyways, Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. I really enjoyed chatting with you. I love the fact that I think a lot of us share the same interests, and it's just absolutely incredible to do this. I'm usually loving every minute of it. So, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, so thank you for showing how easy it is. I think I've made a few back in the days. The difficulty is getting it rolling, right? The difficulty is like reaching the escape velocity to have it really take off and have a life of its own. But I am going to need some mods. So I do need to figure out how that works and how to like set that up. But the people that are here in the live stream, I feel like would all make good mods for the most part, because I think we all kind of share the same ideas and values and whatnot. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.